Hi everybody, welcome to another Simon on the Sofa. Here I am. You might be familiar with this sofa. It seems to be my regular slot at the moment, and it's getting some good usage because I'm speaking to some magical people and bringing them to you transparently as ever. And today I'm with hopefully the live viewers welcome, but hopefully the people that have seen me posting about Nadine in the last week or so might have been and viewed her website, maybe even viewed some of her videos. I know some friends have called me up and said, "Who's that amazing woman you've got on?" Oh my God, I started watching one video and then another, and like I think they watched more videos than I'd actually seen, so so it's working. But Nadine, tell me, say hi and just say your second name for me, because I always say people's second names wrong.
Oh, my name's Nadine Artemis, and I never care about pronunciation.
Good.
You can call me whatever you want.
Awesome. So welcome and thank you for joining me on the virtual sofa. Great to have you here. So I tell you how I like to normally just start, Nadine, is just really just check in with where you're at in this moment, really, and just see how you're feeling, what's going on for you, you know, and just give you the space to just share with the viewers, yeah, where you're at in this moment, if you're happy with that.
Sure. Well, I'm here at my home, which is in Ontario, Canada, and as you may see, it's snowing outside, but I'm cozy, and I'm at our home, which to me just feels so amazing, more than usual, because we just finished rebuilding our home after we lost our home to a really huge and totally devastating fire that we lost every last shred of everything except for our lives, which is, you know, the more important thing. So to be in our home and have it be an amazing, awesome home, and sort of the home that we had hoped to build like 10 years later, it was just a little bit of a forced renovation. So it just feels so good to be here and to be on our land in our home. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and for people viewing out there, I think that's another part of the energy that I love of you and your family, because I happen to, you probably know, you might know this if you've seen me posting it, but I happen to post the celebratory video of you and your family dancing a number of times, and sometimes I do a dance workshop class in you know, bring people together just to dance, and I always post your family video just to get people in the mood, and everybody loves it. And I know people that have often said to me, "Wow, this video you posted has just like sparked my day and just made me feel so happy," you know.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And you know, and it's and also I loved what you wrote at the time when that fire actually happened, because I know we were going to speak around that time, and then unfortunately the fire happened. So we've been sort of communicating a little bit for some time now, and yeah, and I was really, you know, you do say about life being more important, but when we lose all our things and then we're close to that point of maybe losing our life as well, then, you know, there is only celebration, right?
Totally. Yeah. And you realize, like, on another level that there's, you know, another kind of roof with the sky and community and, you know, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff, exactly. So yeah, so I think another thing I think I'd love to ask you, because I'm here to learn from you as well this evening, because I no pressure there, but I'm just saying from a place of, you know, I watched a few of your videos at the conference you did, and I saw a few. You know, it was one of the conferences that, as you know, I posted some of these videos because it was really the first time I hear you speaking about women's breasts and just the chemicals in the world and the toxins in the world, and you know, and I watched a few of your other videos around natural health and ways of, you know, dentistry, etc. Just a few of your small mini clips, and I think what I'd like to say to you really is maybe tonight we have the opportunity with the audience that Simon on the Sofa is. It'd be lovely if I said to you, like, share, where are you at right now? What would you like to share to the world or to the people watching that you feel is really, you know, vitally maybe beneficial or important from where you are just in this moment? Because I know you've got a wealth of information and knowledge, and we can only get a little bit out in the small time we have together. So whatever comes up for you to begin the conversation, and just, yeah, what's what's sort of being burning to be said, maybe what you haven't even said on too many other conversations.
Well, that's a good question, and right in the past few months, I'm just intensely going into, like, I call it the writer's tunnel, because you have to, like, ignore everything. Hold on, I gotta see your face. Okay, and so I'm writing, my publisher, I wrote a book on holistic dentistry called Holistic Dentistry, The Complete Guide to Natural, I don't know, to the complete guide to something, healthy teeth and gums. I don't even know. So,
Good.
yeah, so then the publisher came to my talk actually on breast health last year, and they're like, okay, we're ready for the next book. So anyway, I'm writing a book called Renegade Beauty. I had just wanted to get the dental one sort of out of the way first, because I was like, people, we need to really, it's simple, but we need to reimagine how we're taking care of our teeth. And so the next book's Renegade Beauty. So I'm deep into that right now. And to me, health and beauty are, like, you know, just inextricably bound. It's to me, you know, beauty comes from when you're, you know, you feel healthy, you kind of feel beautiful. And to me, like, long-lasting beauty really comes to, I think, through health, you know. So to me, you know, a lot of what's sort of the beauty is sort of whittled down to just the very external, you know, and there's all kinds of philosophies on beauty and all this sort of stuff. But beauty's sort of like when you're not, you know, that's like when you're out of the way and you can kind of let your own radiance shine through. But with all that stuff on beauty, I just feel like I love to go into things deeply. And so with the interconnectedness of health and beauty, one of the main things that I'm writing about and that I've spoken before, the thread that just goes through everything from our relationship to the sun, lying in the sun, the health of the sun, the health of our breasts, the health of our digestion, which makes, you know, which is totally, if we have great digestion, your skin, you know, your skin will be healthy as well. If there's a lot of acne, that kind of thing, it's, you know, related to our guts and our health that way. So I have a chapter that I'm working on called Meeting Beauty, from the Milky Way to the microbiome. So to me,
say that again. Say
microbiome, which is a newer word, like past decade or so. But the microbiome is the trillions of bacteria that live in our body. So we're actually about 90% bacteria and about 10% mammalian. So we're actually just a host for bacteria. And it's time that we learned how to, like, you know, get along with have a symbiotic nature with our microbiome and get along with them, and how we can see how the health and well-being of our microbiome to maintain a bustling biome of beneficial bacteria is one of the keys to beauty.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, continue. I'm just here, just transfixed. Rock on with bacteria. How do we have a great relationship? I'm just like, how do we have a great relationship with our bacteria? I love it. Rock on.
Yeah. And you know, so again, we'll talk about beauty, but it's really about health, longevity. You know, it's like we want to be here for a long time and a good time. We want to feel good till we're 150 or so. We just want to be rocking it. And so we think of that often as our guts, but like our skin has about 700 species alone. So that's the species. That's not 700 bacteria. That's the families. That's the skin. The guts have about 1,000. You know, from the inside of our nose, the microbiome, it connects, it talks, it communicates to hormones, to our brain. Depression could be caused from a lack of a healthy microbiome. Wow. And currently, in our present day, we're living in an environment that's really like, I mean, not intentionally, but it's kind of like anti-healthy microbiome. Whether it's the overuse of antibiotics, pesticides, herbicides, GMOs, all of that modern agriculture is taking away the microbiome of our soil. And that's like, we've got a few decades of that, from topsoil erosion to pesticides. And so when we're picking up like a handful of soil now, it's not as diverse. And so we're not eating that in our carrots, in our food. So we're not getting it from the soil first. We're also living differently. We're not like squatting on the ground anymore in a skirt, you know. We're not brushing against bushes, you know, and all that kind of stuff, which we're probably not going to be going back to, but that's what would feed our microbiome. And then we've got, you know, the overuse of antibiotics, the cosmetics, that from the benzoyl peroxide to the, you know, to the anti-aging cream to the acne toner, stripping away the acid mantle and the microbiome of our face. We're all caught up in this sort of pH thing, but it's like irrelevant because it's really about the health of the microbiome. And then there's the use of antibiotics, and then there's the you know, there's this inoculation that we're all supposed to receive, this initial sort of culture starter, and that's through a vaginal birth. So when we go through the birth canal, we get this anointing of the mother's microbiome, and that sets up skin, the health of the child, and then that's supposed to be further enhanced by, you know, some amount of breastfeeding, hopefully, you know, starting from 6 months to 3 years or longer, and we're missing out on that as well. And so it's just so huge a topic, especially for a little bit more for women's health, a tiny bit more, because of the whole uterus, ovaries, vagina birthing thing. It's like we really need our microbiome intact, not just for our own health, but for future generations. Because what we give our children will set it up. And if we don't have enough healthy bacteria in our ovaries and or all that kind of things, that can lead to premature birth, not even being fertile. So it could be a fertility issue, could be a premature birth issue, all these things. So it's like so important.
It's huge. But you know, you said that it's like maybe a more of a woman's area, but I would probably disagree slightly and just say, well, actually no, I feel like men having this wisdom and knowledge and actually, you know, being, you know, because for the continuation of our species is based on the reproduction of the women, right? So
and in women, I totally agree, and I just meant like there's just that one extra area with the whole vagina womb thing that I just feel like women have to pay, and it's so out of sorts right now from, you know, tampons, the birth control pill affects our microbiome, you know, all these bubble baths, all that stuff's like affecting the ecology of our yonis.
Yeah. Amazing. Phenomenal. No. It's like you say, where to go from there, because it's almost like, because you even said about the pH and so, because there's so much information out there, like, you know, from your research and from your awareness, and you're putting this out there, it's almost like, for me, I'm always shocked, like how we went wrong, how we just allowed all these chemicals in. Because you said something really beautiful in one of your presentations, and I don't remember the number, but how many like toxins and poisons are we actually like taking in through this is when you was talking about the breast, but that we're all just ingesting from the day-to-day life, which is phenomenal, wasn't it?
It's so phenomenal, and that's sort of also where the skin, we're used to our skin, like it's like we see it, and it's like it's an organ, but we're used to seeing it, so it doesn't feel like our liver, but it's definitely the, like, you know, I call it, you know, the moist envelope of the soul is our skin, and it lets things in and it lets things out. And so what we are sort of not aware of is that it absorbs more through transdermal absorption than we do orally. So it's still mind-blowing to me, but if you drink a glass of chlorinated water, it's not a good thing. But if you have a shower in chlorinated water, you're actually absorbing more. If you're bathing in it, you're absorbing more. So even though we feel like we're putting on the cream and we're just wanting to deal with like the fine lines and the wrinkles and all that, it's actually drinking it in, and it's staying in our armpits and in our livers. And we don't want skincare that's hanging around for more than a few hours. You know, we need the ingredients that are working with our body, do their stuff, leave, rather than this like, oh, 10 years later we're going to find parabens in every cancerous breast tissue that was studied, because it's just the deodorant and the stuff's just trapped in this pool here. It's like a cesspool where things get
right. And ultimately, again, when you break it down and go into it, most of what's created one isn't created in a sense that's coming from, you know, the consideration of the evolution of our humanity and, like, you know, the wellness and goodness. It's more about our competition in consumerism, right? When we start talking about crazy deodorants and all this other madness and products, you know, face cream there's face cream for everything now, isn't there? Face cream to give you a new face.
Yeah, every inch of our body.
Yeah, cream for everything. And one question that pops up for me, and I'd love to know, because again, just because this is your area of expertise, you know, those and please, if I by any time go off in anything that you want to share along the way, please be sure just to say, pull me back, and we go wherever you want to flow with the facts that need to come out for people to hear. But you know those little crystal deodorants? And there was so much myth about these things. They were supposed to be, they had a different form or different name than aluminium. Could you just speak to that briefly? Was that, from your perspective, good? Or because everyone was like, these crystals were amazing, I used them for some time, and then because of the controversy, I just stopped.
Good. Yeah, crystal stone sounds like two great words. But there is a type of aluminum in it and other chemicals, so it's just BS. I do have an article on our site called Sweat the Small Stuff, and it will go deeply into deodorants if anybody wants to go into that further. But yeah, we need to not be putting toxins there for sure. And there's so many things you can do, like putting your armpits in the sun is good, baking soda is good, and then using essential oils. I have a recipe in the article, but literally just pure organic sandalwood oil, 1 drop in each pit, and you will be amazed. Amazed. It works way better than even baking soda.
Wow, I'm going oil.
We make these amazing poetic pits. So it'll be the sandalwood is the main ingredient, and then we add other essential oils to, like, differentiate. But really, the heart of it is the sandalwood, and we don't use any other. Like, it's pure, it's straight up. It's not diluted with an oil or anything like that. But it's that potency of the pure essential oil that works. And sandalwood's one that's totally safe to put on meat on the skin.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And also, you know, that again, it's just like it almost feels that this idea of is this a case of, like, we have to get back to the whole reprogramming of what it is to actually function from this place? Because, you know, most people's minds are so caught in that they need, you know, deodorant to prevent us from sweat. We need cream to help the skin. You know, like you said, and actually it's coming more from the internal. It's coming from what we ingest and what we digest. So, you know, you're in this. You know, you're probably speaking to people. I know you go to these conferences and there's, you know, thousands of people. But is it so far away from it just becoming common knowledge? Are people going to really start, you know, closing down their multi-million-pound companies and going, hey man, let's all rock and roll with the sandalwood because we don't even need anything else?
We could. Well, the great thing is, I mean, what year is 2015? And so we've come so far away from, I don't know, what's real, so to speak. But the great thing is, I mean, and I think we're, like, programmed to consume now. So there'd be a bit of a thing to, like, stop it. But it's 2015, and so everything you are used to and want to do, you can do that with a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you can have whatever you want on a real, not even pseudo, because there's a lot of greenwashing out there, but you can live luxuriously and sustainably in this day and age. So, I mean, we've got it all. And
yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean greenwashing? Just break that down for me.
Well, to me, you know, being natural and natural beauty in that, let's just say in that realm, or natural housekeeping, it's a big market now. You know, I think it started a lot in the 80s. We had the Body Shop, and then it kept evolving. And even though the Body Shop was 100% not authentic, we didn't know that at first. But what it did was it created the sort of green consumer. I mean, it helped me. It made me think, oh, I really want to do natural things. And then it was just like when I was 18 and I found out there was no pineapple in the pineapple face wash or anything like that. It was like, okay, that's total BS. But it's awoken in me that we can do this, and that the plants, when they're real, can really help us. And so at a health food store, You can go down that beauty aisle now or the cleaning aisle, and there's a lot of pictures of lavender, and there's a lot of marketing to the green. But when you actually look at the ingredients, it's just BS.
Right, right. So it's beautiful. So greenwashing from that perspective. So I'm just and you know, not from a place. So from the perspective of Body Shop, who's one of the largest, you would say, sort of organizations, companies out there, that's still going strong. People think if they go in Body Shop, that they're rocking and rolling. Yeah, they're really like serving something of good, right? So are we saying that ultimately their products are not that as pure as that they're making out?
Not even. Just not even close. It's like
Wow.
it's marketed differently than what's at the drugstore.
Right, and that's and the woman. What's the woman's name who founded that again? Because I know she's passed on now.
Yeah, Anita, and I think she was a great entrepreneur, and you know what I mean, like she was very innovative, and I think has also done a lot in service to to the world in different ways, but
Yeah.
the products are not
Yeah,
authentic.
exactly. Yeah. The ethos and the intention was coming probably from that place of wanting to do good, but then when it comes down to business and money, sometimes, and I'm just assuming here, of course, but sometimes the easier route or the quicker route to do something can take over, especially when you start dealing mass. But
Yeah, and it might not have been possible at that time, or it was like slightly like, oh, let's bring back putting
yeah,
raspberry. But I was
yeah,
like, oh, cherry's not actually a plant, all that. And then there's a controversy over they're like against animal testing. But when you're working with those standardized ingredients like sodium lauryl sulfate or all those things, it's like they have had a history of being tested on animals to be used as
right,
ingredients. So maybe the Body Shop didn't test that on a rabbit, but that ingredient was.
right.
All these it was interesting. I mean, I remember back in the 90s, I'd read a really good article in Business Ethics magazine, and that was just really fascinating and eye-opening, where they do fair trade, but then they were like negotiating the loofahs down 2 cents to the local economy. I mean, it was just a really interesting thing to read so long ago, and to just see the sort of infrastructure of a business like that.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And where we are now, again, like you said, 2015, and we have such a great way of sharing information now. Like even I can speak to you over in Canada, and we can share this out to to some of the people. And like you just beautifully said, I mean, even when you was 18, you heard from the Body Shop, which they sparked you and gave you a seed, and that seed's now spreading. So I know that we can spread seeds so much faster now in such a beautiful way. Do you feel that more and more people, I'm sure the people that are, sort of supporting and following you and your beautiful family are of that ilk, but do you feel more people are really just, we getting the ripple effect of that, yeah, this is the way to go, it feels good to be good.
Well, it is so fascinating. When I was 22, that's when I started. Well, I'd sort of been in business before, but it was very like out of my home. And then when I was 22, I opened a store, an aromatherapy store, in this hip area of Toronto, which is like capital city of Ontario. And it was sort of like Toronto's version of Soho, and it was awesome. And there was no store like it in North America. We had over 100 essential oils. I had many of the formulas that I do today, I created there. But it was this retail store, and it was fascinating. But it seemed like retail stores seem so old school now. And then I remember you do like advertising if you want to advertise in the health paper, or I'd go on national TV for Canada. I'd even be on TV. And it's amazing now with the internet, and now we're mainly an internet company. I had retired from there, and then when I met Ron, we had relaunched our website, and we live in the country. So first of all, we can live wherever we want, which is awesome, and I don't have to be tied to a brick and mortar store. But then seeing the difference of speaking to somebody's tribe, so to speak, like if I'll speak at a David Wolf's conference, or if he interviews me, or like other friends that we have that sort of have that key tribe, it's like the response is so much bigger than being on national TV. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like there's a lot that's been equalized in this playing field. And, for advertising, it's like still, Toyota on Facebook has the same access that you do on your own page, and so it is really neat. You don't have to take out an ad in Vogue magazine anymore or have a billboard. So that's really neat. And I think that's such an exciting thing for entrepreneurs, because I think there's like sort of this, what the internet's creating is this entrepreneur class that can, strengthen their own life and then really go out into the world with a lot of strength.
Yeah, totally. And when we're willing to ask as well, we can really connect. We connect to people now that maybe 15, 20 years ago you just wouldn't have been able to connect to, or even maybe even get some form of connection, whether it be email or some direct contact.
Totally. I mean, it's amazing. And I think too, like when I had my store and the internet was just coming in so long ago. But it's like, and now I think of like, I'll do like with 100 emails a day or so. It's crazy the amount that we can also process.
Right.
Because of the speed and because of the ease. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is totally amazing. I'm always I'm always fascinated as well that maybe the people that the kids are, the next generation that are also bypassing all of that sort of past talk that we got, and they're just coming straight into that processing capacity, aren't they? They're just like, you see them now at such a young age, and they're off, man. They're just off, like communicating in so many different ways, or some of them for sure.
Yeah, I'm keeping my son away from that as long as possible.
Good.
Last time, like we all just, I didn't even really touch a computer till I was in my 20s, so.
Yeah, likewise, totally. So yeah, so let's as we're moving, and you're mentioning the family because you've got this lovely family, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. You may or may not know. I don't know how much you sort of know of what I'm up to, but the idea of authentic communication, transparent communication is what I term it. And this way of like, what I hear from what you're sharing is that, your products, even when I watched your little chocolate video with Ron, and you guys are making like pure chocolate from cacao, and you're coming from actually, you're wanting to bring the truth back to your products, to your life, and you get that essence of how you guys communicate on your website and how you share your your life, your stories together. And so I'd love maybe, depending on what you're feeling around this, but just that authenticity in relationship, because you and Ron have a very beautiful, I would probably put it in the brackets of a very conscious, loving relationship, and now you've sort of linked together and you're doing stuff together. But I don't know what comes up for you from that place when we just sort of bring that authenticity in the relationship into the conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm so blessed and lucky that Ron and I met, and you just reminded me of when we did meet. Ron had run into a friend of ours, and I got to think. So our friend just said, "Oh, you've met Nadine, or you're teaching her yoga now, or something." And Ron just said, "Yeah, she's so real to the feel," and that was like Ron's just first and loving impression of me. He was just like, he was just ignited by that, and
beautiful.
Together, yeah. So
it started. So and from that point, so once you guys had met, and that was when you got introduced, or you was actually going to his yoga classes?
Yeah, that way we met just before. He had taken over my yoga studio for the summer to teach another kind of yoga. And that, yeah, it was just sort of all in the beginning when we were meeting. But I definitely felt like, and he's so funny, and I love funny, because I think, like, when the world's feeling a bit insane, I'm like, well, all we have left is like beauty and humor.
Yes, totally. If you can't laugh when it's all falling apart, you've got nothing left, right?
That's right. So I was so happy to get to know Ron more, because we had met, we had mutual friends, and he was so funny. I just thought, I just felt like we were from the same planet, or the same, the same tribe, and and then we got together, and we've been together ever since.
Awesome. And how long have you been together now?
I think we're on our 13th year.
13th year, beautiful. And so basically, so Living Libations and what you do now in terms of from the oils, the essential oils, and even the what's Ron? Is Ron, you guys do the chocolate as well, or are you two just involved in the whole, like, how does it roll?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so obviously before I met Ron, I had about I started at 18. So I had about, like, I think about 12 years already deeply entrenched in my essential oils and skincare business. And I would do talks in Arizona, California, all in my 20s. And again, our store was really unique to North America. And I don't know, I just came in right from the beginning with the purest quality, and it just all really connected. And I was so happy to be working with the oils as my palette. I just really felt like that was it. So it was really interesting having a store, because there you take, it's a good entrepreneur lesson, because you take your passion and your hobby and then you put a full business structure around it. And then you get to see what you like, what you don't like, insurance, lawyers, like all that stuff you have to have with your business infrastructure. And you're like, oh, is this still fun? But it is still fun. Anyway, so I had retired from that, and I was working on some small projects. And then when Ron and I got together, he was a yoga teacher and like a performer and musician, so we had lots of skills. But he was like, I'm so ready to retire from yoga, and I really want to work with you and stuff. And I was like, well, like I might kill the romance. Was my first thought. I was like, let's have fun first, and before, because you have to get to that stage where it's just like, even when you get to the stage of like when you're living together or you're spending a lot of time together, and then you have to think like about dishes and stuff, you're just working together. But it was neat, because I think as a couple, if you're having a family, I think you have to work together anyway. So why not throw business in the mix? And his passion and his commitment was so amazing. And I think that's really neat because of the love. It was different than it might not, for some it might not be the best business partner experience, but I feel like it's the love that's actually really good. So you're not just with like a person that's a business partner. And so that was really neat. And he was so there and so ready to retire from teaching yoga. He really likes yoga, but just didn't want to get out of the teaching of it. And that was really neat, because when we joined forces, so much alchemy happened. But again, I was like, okay, let's not get too serious. Let's keep this as about as serious as a lemonade stand. But of course, it's totally serious now. And we would create so much. And the chocolate actually came out of our union. It was like one of the formulas we created together. Like it's hard to even explain. But, a lot of what I formulate is total intuition. I can hardly even grasp it. I just catch it as the stuff comes in. I just write it down. And so we had that moment together, and we were creating chocolate, and we started creating it like it's never been made, because we actually had no idea how to actually make what like chocolate people make with the melting and the pouring. Our friend David Wolf had come over, and he was like, here, try this, and he dipped this thing in honey, and it was like the first cacao bean that we'd ever had. We're like, oh my God, that's chocolate. And I also had, I know we both had, but I had a longer history. I hadn't even eaten chocolate, because I was, at 18, I also became totally organic. I was vegan at the time. I was vegan for about 20 years, so I never ate that, because I didn't eat soy and I didn't eat sugar. Like I didn't eat processed things. So I didn't even eat those vegan chocolate bars. So I hadn't eaten chocolate in like forever, since like a kid. So that was really neat. And back then you even had to peel each bean, because they didn't even come winnowed. It was a lot of work. Wow. But anyway, we created this, and we just ground the chocolate with the herbs and spices and essences and other oils, and then we pressed it into a chocolate. So there was no melting, pouring, and there still isn't to this day. And I think it's still the only chocolate bar that is not, because there's the raw tempering of chocolate, which is great. It's just not how we do it. And so then we found out too, it was actually more of an ancient Mesoamerican way to make chocolate, because they would grind the beans on a metate, and we have a stone grinder, and then they throw in the herbs like the pepper, like the spicy or the maca, and that's how they made chocolate. So it's kind of like,
you guys are making it from that in that similar vein.
Yes, although we had no idea it was like already a historical sort of way.
Yeah. So it's always the way we come up with something, you go, God damn, that was how they did it back in the day. Yeah, always the way. We think, nah, it's our idea. So in terms of like You said, you mentioned that you still vegan now, or you're not vegan now, or whatever that means.
Yeah, not for a while, since being pregnant, birthing, breastfeeding for almost 5 years, and deeply going into dental health. For me at this point, I was like really seeing the value of the fat soluble vitamins that cannot be from, and I'm not into grains. So it kind of was eliminating food groups, and so now we for the past 5 years, it's been very ancestral, and that feels good to me. And of course, like if we ever eat an animal product, it's like, the best we can find. We don't just like we never go to a restaurant, but it would never be just, just get the factory farm. And also, I think when I became vegan, it was great. And I think what was great, even though I probably missed out on some fats for some years, I kept it very high vibe, and I was only ever organic, and I wasn't eating processed food. So I think that helped sustain it for a long time. But also, at that time, I didn't know that there was not factory farmed options and different things. So, because that was a long time ago. I was at university, and I skipped it a lot. I was bored the first year, and I was actually watching Donahue. If you remember that.
I don't remember Donahue. No, what was that a show?
Feeling older. It's like pre-Oprah.
Okay.
It was like one of those daily talk show things, and it was. And Phil was married to I forget, Marlo Thomas.
Okay.
Woman. Anyway, the book Diet for New America was on, and John Robbins was on, and Raul Julia and Lisa Bonet. And then I had never even heard of like not eating dairy, but I was immediately like, it made so much sense. I mean, from an environmental issues, from pesticides, health, and we of course thought we weren't supposed to have cholesterol back then, so it seemed ideal. And that's what really sparked it. But the great thing about that too is the moment I understood that the whole supermarket was completely false and nowhere that you'd actually want to buy food from, it was within that same month that I understood the whole structure of beauty care and that it was completely false. Right. And then that's from that day forward, I started making my own skincare.
Yeah, amazing. It's always nice to hear how it all links together. So I mean, even staying in mind of like organic, and there's so many different views now of whether you should be vegetarian, vegan, raw, you name it. I mean, you've got breatharians, you've got banana-arians, you've got like people that just live on the raw cacao bean, I'm sure. So and then you've got somebody that keeps eating the factory farm meat and smoking 15 cigarettes a day and lives till he's 96 and still walking around fit as a fiddle. So it's really fascinates me that how the body is so adaptable to certain things, and almost there's no real rhyme or reason. So what is your sort of view to, like, I don't know if you work with people in groups or one-on-one, etc., but is it just that pointing them back to self for people to find their truth in what works for them, or do you feel there's like just a real, because even when we talk about people going organic or going into like even what you're talking about in terms of the more authentic skin care, dentistry care, and so on, you get so many people in resistance to that, or either because they have to break comfort zones, or it's sometimes more expensive. But I mean, whatever comes up for you, again, just talk to any of that. It's just like I'm curious.
So many things come up from that, and I think well, first, I love it when people can go into their own intuition in their own bodies and go, okay, what do I need? How do I feel eating that quinoa? How did that feel for you? So that we're not externalizing, because as an author or a beauty care person or whatever, people are interested. I mean, we'll get emails like, what does Nadine eat? And it is all in my dental book. But again, and is the eat right for your blood type a true thing? Again, I don't know. But so first of all, yes, go into your body, go into your intuition, eat simply, and then see how your body reacts. But I think that there's faults, so to speak, with each diet, and there's traps that you can get into. I mean, eating standard would be so many issues from, just process. First of all, I think there's some general things, like nobody should eat processed food. Nobody should eat soy, corn, wheat. Those are, for starters, those are something. Nobody should eat factory farmed anything.
Yeah, that just no goes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. And then like raw, there's a lot of good things about it, but you're gonna probably missing out on some key fats and some key nutrients like B12. I mean, these things are true and real. Vegetarian diet, and again, I'm only speaking around like hopefully you're doing that organically, but it could be way too grain and bean heavy because for a number of reasons from the phytic acids. So when we eat a lot of phytic acids, which are in legumes and grains, those are actually anti-nutrients and those can cause tooth decay. So a vegetarian diet, it could be too rich, like you could be having oatmeal for breakfast, lentils for lunch, rice for dinner, and then you're getting into a real grain cycle. And so I feel, and again, eating grains is like very new. It's like 10,000 years in the making. So it is a newer thing. And I'm loving the work with Dr. Perlmutter, the grain brain, the wheat belly. I think there's a lot of value in that as we see, things like Alzheimer's really are like a type 3 diabetes. And when we look at the key, again, if we're looking about beauty, anti-aging, not being diseased, the root of all that is inflammation, which one of the main things under inflammation is blood sugar levels. And so I think really being key, like if you really want to work it, you want to have your blood sugar around 80, 82. And so I think with also vegan and vegetarian diets, it can be too high in carbohydrates, which become sugar. So eating 2 pieces of whole wheat Ezekiel sprouted bread is as sugar inducing as a Snickers bar.
Right.
And I thought I haven't eaten wheat for years, but I always just thought I don't have a wheat thing. We might have eaten it in something like not avoided it, but it might have been like having an Ezekiel wrap or something like that. But then when a few years ago, we just even eliminated like an organic. Wasn't into the grains anyway, but you'd still, if you're traveling, you let it in. But just being 0 gluten. The only grain we eat is a teff, which is a non-gluten grain, and we make an injera, like a flatbread.
Which one? What is that called? What's that called, Nadine?
Teff. It's TEFF, and it's a non-gluten grain, and we make that into a fermented flatbread, and then we make a bunch and have them in the fridge, and you can make a sandwich. It's handy making those sandwiches, especially when you have a 7-year-old. So that's like the only grain we eat, and
so where do you get your cut? Because cause listening to you is like I still eat a lot of rice, rice and so on. So what other grains where do you get your carbs from?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I feel like you don't have to really work on the carbs because they come in through vegetables and root vegetables. They're a part of it. But yeah, I found like, especially coming off being vegan, I mean, you eat like way more rice and lentils because you're not ready. Like, I mean, I'd be coming off raw, going to vegan, and then you're not ready for animal products at all, right? It's just like, what? It took a few years, really. So I totally with so much passion get anybody that wants to be vegan and not eat animals. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I lived that for 20 years, but literally I could see my body was running out, especially after being pregnant and birthing and breastfeeding and going deeply into the dental care and seeing numerous vegan children with like so not good teeth, like graying, rotting teeth, and just seeing, and then, really looking at, there's actually never been a culture that's been vegan the whole way, from birth to death. Things like that, and just seeing where, we really wanted, because we're very much always like to maximize our health, and we love to try things so that I can tell you about it. We can talk about, like, I can literally say, we keep our blood sugars at 80, and then we can feel the results of it. But it's interesting, when we totally cut out gluten, I found like the subtlest thing. So again, I didn't think I had any signs of being intolerant to things like wheat. But, just such subtle things. And like I had unfortunately broken my wrist when Leaf was 5 months old on ice. and they set the cast, and we didn't know till we took the cast off, but my pinky finger was probably sprained, and it wasn't set properly, so it would just get like a little, I don't know, there's a thing in there, but I was fine with it. It wasn't like aching or anything, but it's just there because there's not a lot going in my body that's off, so I could really feel something subtle, and it totally went away. Just like a small thing like that. It's just, I find that fascinating. So we're always
and that went away because you feel from what perspective? From the blood sugar levels?
No, from zero gluten.
Zero gluten.
And then yeah, we didn't want to become too carb heavy, so we just, we do eat wild rice sometimes, but we're just we've been refocusing so that we don't think too carb heavy anyway.
Yeah. So you're pretty much getting your carbs from root vegetables. That's it.
Yeah, and well, all vegetables have a number of carbs in it, but carbs isn't the thing we really have to be concerned about, because we will get them unless you really try hard not to. And for some people, they might need to go through phases of that where they're going from being a glucose energized person to more of a ketogenic energized person, so that you're actually running off of fat instead of sugar. And if you have any health issues, I mean, that can be miraculous. Or if you're trying to lose weight, it's like, you can, it's the key, really, what we're understanding in the past 10 years is that we do need cholesterol, we need healthy cholesterol, and we need fat. Fat needs to be kind of your number one food group.
Yeah, and you're saying that we ultimately need to have some animal fat in there now. That's what you're pointing to.
Well, you could. So if you're a vegan, you could, but you really have to look at your supplements. So you can get a K2 supplement that's natto, a fermented soy. You could be in the sun, take your D3, or you could like not eat animal products but take your cod liver oil. Some people are okay with that. If you're vegetarian, go for it. Go for it with the ghee, the butter, the eggs. So.
Yeah, so you can sort of find your way around it if you want to stick to whatever it is you're flying with. But then then you said something lovely about inflammation. I mean, we're dealing with such a, you could say, a pandemic of obesity in many places around the world. And it's funny that you meet so many people. I did a small study of nutrition when I was a personal trainer, so I looked at the basics. But it's funny, Nadine, because the basics 15 years ago, when you start to delve a bit deeper, like yourself, and you do a bit of research, you start to go, wow, I've been taught all this about fats, carbs, proteins, and how to get the protein, and and I was into weight training at the time, and what supplements you need. And then when you dive a little bit deep into your research and start to read other things around the gut, the blood sugar levels, and how you can get proteins, the enzymes straight in from the vegetables and the fruits and so on, and you start to realize, well, actually I don't need to take in the meat. And then you go, well, there's been a whole education, whatever, what would you call it, an education decade of information that ultimately is not even needed.
Not even needed. And then as we learn more about the microbiome, I mean, there you go. So one of the issues with gluten, I mean, it just wreaks havoc on our gut. So whether you have a full-blown, obvious leaky gut, or it could be subtle and candida could be creeping through your body. So when we have a leaky gut, it's like there's just tiny microscopic perforations in the intestinal lining, and then things that aren't supposed to go into the body go into the body. And gluten is just a total aggravator of that.
Right.
And then eating in like all the sugar and different things. So I really think the core is like blood sugars, inflammation, and then from there, if you can get that under control, so much falls into place, from hormones, which we know a lot about, but we don't. I think they're just there's these secret glandular secretions that kind of make everything work, and I think they're also really hooked up to the chakra points, which are that sort of invisible, sort of tangible, intangible energy centers in our body, but they're very also hooked up with the glandular secretions. When I went into dental care, what we actually find out is that the tooth works because of the hypothalamus. It's like literally because of the hormonal communication between our saliva, what we're ingesting, the parotid gland, which is right here, and how that communicates to our hypothalamus and the nutrients that are going into the body, and then how the tooth brings that up into the tooth, that's whether you're going to get a cavity or not.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just and again, this information and this awareness just isn't common knowledge, you know. And people get so, I know people viewing today, hello to all the live viewers, but you know, to the people viewing or even watching back on replay, I know that you're out there and you get such mixed information, and I think that, and I'm sure Nadine would agree with this, is that you've got to find something that really works for you. Because you know, I know, even listening to Nadine now, that some, you know, I eat a lot of grains. I'm vegan, vegetarian, because I eat honey sometimes, so you can't say you're a vegan. And you know, these names are just names anyway. I don't like to fall into too many labels. I always say to people, if there's only fish to eat or there's only meat to eat, then I'm not going to say no, I'm vegan and just, like, you know, kill myself. You know, it's like, the point is just, why are you doing what you're doing? But my point is that we can get so mixed up with information. But we do know, and I'd love you to just talk a little bit to this again, Nadine, just this inflammation and this blood sugar level, because I know my mum's been struggling with this, and I know so many people don't realize much about their blood sugar levels. But we know if we're inflamed, we know how our body's feeling, we really know if our skin is blemished or spotty, and you know, we can tune in, can't we, Nadine, into like some real basic stuff.
Totally, yeah. I mean, well, I definitely say read The Grain Brain. You know, it's written by a doctor, and he's a he's not a neurosurgeon, he's a brain doctor, and actually has a book coming out in April, and it's about the brain and the microbiome. So I'm so excited for that.
And what was the first book, Nadine?
Called The Grain Brain. The Grain Brain. Or Grain Brain. But I feel like Wheat Belly is awesome, but The Grain Brain is like next level, and I just really, really appreciate his work, and we can just see where the general population is going, right? Diabetes out of control, moving towards Alzheimer's, like huge issues. And again, these things are very solvable. I just wanted to speak to you too, because you spoke about information, which especially this day and age of all of the times of humanity, information is like never before. It's like, you know, but you're getting the junk with the gold. It's like we're living in the Library of Alexandria, you know, and we're at the dumpster, sort of all combined. Right. And so whatever you endeavor to research, look up, whatever, you're going to find both sides of the equation. And so we're still left with the same dilemma, so to speak. And the only way through that is with discernment. And I feel like everybody needs to sharpen their discernment tools, which is, you know, a lot to do with gut feelings, intuition, cleaning out the guts, you know, having a healthy microbiome also works for that intuitive connection. And when we can discern, and when we bring our senses back into balance, and when we're using all of them, like all 5 of them, in harmony, and not just like overstimulated on the visual, bringing our sense of smell into consciousness, which can, you know, sniff out poison, to detect things out. So when we work with them in union, I think that we can understand discernment. And you could, you know, go to Google and you just be like, yeah, no, that's real, not real. Oh, about 80% of that's real, I'm going to dump out the rest. And when you can navigate through life like that, I just think it's fun.
Yeah, yeah, good. That's good enough fuel for everybody that's listening to it. You know, it's fun, and it's again, I think it's beautiful when we actually take responsibility to make that fun as well. You know, like we want to respect our lingam and yonis. We want to respect our body. We want to respect our breasts. We want to respect what goes in. You know, and even sometimes, you know, I think my diet and the way that I eat and the way that I consume is healthy, but I know that also sometimes my stools, you know, for example, they're sticky, they're like, you know, they're not always regular. There's certain things going on in my gut sometimes where I get you know, I get a bit of mild bloating, or I might get a little bit of pain inside. So I know that there's stuff going on inside there, and then, you know, I might think to myself, okay, I need to increase my water, or I need to, you know, I'm feeling dehydrated, and maybe there's, I'm eating, like you just said, too much wheat. If I even go near too much oats, should I say, you know, I notice a different instantly. If I'm on chia seed in my breakfast, and then I just change to a little bit of oats, my body just the difference in the swelling in my gut is phenomenal.
Wow, you might, yeah, I would go for the non-gluten thing for sure. It sounds like there's something going on there. You just reminded me, yeah, I feel like you're just reminding me of being when I was like different things. I was completely raw for about 6 years, but you start really knowing like each nut. You know what I mean? You're like, cashews had to be soaked, or macadamias worked, sesame seeds didn't work at all, or like sunflower seeds were always I think every sunflower seed is rancid that you buy, because you can smell it. You know, you can smell it because it has been out of the shell for so long, and the oils are so fragile.
So and what you're saying you soak them, or you stopped eating them?
I didn't touch sunflower seeds. I still won't. They just did not work for me. But that's just like, you know, that might work for somebody else, but I feel like that's something you're already starting. Could be the phytic acids. All nuts and grains have to be soaked. So you could work with the non-gluten grain and then soak and then ferment, because any grain that was used in older times, it was soaked and fermented, or they're, you know, doing things with it, like putting different, like with corn, it was prepared in a different way. It wasn't just like, here's our corn, we're just going to eat it off the thing. You know, they would prepare the grains, ferment, different things like that. And so it's just really bringing in that level of discernment. And so eating simply, so you can be like, oh, I'm bloated right now. Like, bloating is actually, it's you can deal with it, but it's actually not a normal response to eating. And I'm also always looking to feel good. And so that's also helped me just shape choices. It's like, I feel like I don't even have cravings, because like everything's so balanced, but it would just be like, I don't crave something if it doesn't feel good, especially, you know what I mean? So if I ever ate something and then I didn't feel that good afterwards, like I remember being a kid and eating like pancakes and maple syrup.
Right.
So then when you get older, you're like, okay, I'm not eating that because I don't feel good. And so when you can just go like, forget about what I'm saying, what a book's saying, like, how do you feel? Like right now, are you bloated? Do you gas? Like, are you passed out afterwards? Do you need to have a nap?
Right.
It's really great when you can go through your day without that. One thing I would suggest that everybody could look into is really, you want to look at a daily probiotic supplement. And I can't say which brand. I mean, I can say, but I meant like we use a wide variety, and I feel like everybody's guts are going to respond to different ones. So don't ask me which ones, because I really feel like you have to go into it. But you want to look for a variety. You want to make sure you're getting some bifidus, you know, not just the regular stuff. You want to get some diversity in those probiotics. And it's really almost like taking a food supplement rather than, you know, a vitamin. So I just feel like everybody thrives. It starts to regulate, because, you know, even if we were birthed vaginally, had breastfeeding, all that, I mean, if our grandmothers took antibiotics, that is changing the course of our bodies. Like, so if my grandmother did, then there is something that has changed the course of my body. And I haven't had a lot of antibiotics when I was little, but there was those times, you know. You know, so it's like even one dose of antibiotics changes the whole thing.
Wow.
That's going on.
Wow, and doctors are pumping them out, even if you just go there and you think even if they think you're depressed, they're giving you antibiotics nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's like slowly changing, because now they're realizing antibiotics can be this powerful medicine, but now we've sort of made them null and void, because, you know, the livestock's been eating them, they've been giving them out like candy, prescription, and so now
it's in the meats, right? It's in all the meats as well.
Yeah, totally. And so the dairy, the meat, it's in the feed, it's in the silage. It's like you never want to eat anything. You have to know where your food comes from, for sure.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you know, that's what that's originally like. I was never big. I had a bit of a lactose intolerance. I was never massive on dairy anyway, thankfully. But when I started researching and found out about the whole leaking milk, nipples, and the antibiotics they have to pump into the animals, because they're being, you know, their teats are being sucked so much that they're bleeding everywhere. So blood's going into the milk. they have to put the antibiotics in to kill the blood off, and then we're just ingesting that thinking we're having a nice drink of milk. I mean, the day that hit me, I was just like, right, that's it. I do not need milk in my body.
Well, yeah, that was me at 18 going, okay, I'm fine being vegan, you know, here we go.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was saying that, so yeah, it saved me. So while I might have been missing out on some vitamins and fats, at least it saved me from going into a totally hormonal diet, like eating the synthetic hormones from, you know, and the drugs. Huge antibiotics.
Yeah, it's totally insane. It's totally insane. But you know, like you said, there's information now, there's media, there's the information is out there, and if anything, the invitation to people, especially the live viewers today and the people watching this conversation on replays, not to get overwhelmed by the amount of information, but to actually just take the little bits that really resonate, which Nadine just said, and then actually just see how you're feeling. Like there's one thing I remember doing myself is just taking a food out of my diet for a month, maybe 6 weeks, and then implementing it after that time and just seeing the effects it was giving in my body. Just a real nice, easy way of finding out if something really sits well for you.
That's a great, yeah, I highly recommend that sort of elimination diet, and people can look that up. Especially, you know, just simple things. If you've got rosacea, a fungal infection, toe fungus, a fungus coming out of your eye, all of that is related to guts. And when you look at eliminating soy, wheat, gluten, I mean, you're done. I mean, you're like, oh, now I don't have to have eczema. It's like, it's actually kind of simple.
Yeah.
And when you eat less sugar and less, there's also this opiate response. So when we eat grains, they talk about the grain brain and wheat belly, but it like latches, it's like connected to the opiate receptors. So it's essentially like having a drug. And so there is an addiction level, same with sugar. So when you can just go through, you know, there might be some awkward days, but once you get through that, you're saying,
what you mean once you've gone through the cold sugar turkey, right?
Totally.
Like, you know, somebody listening to, I think it was in Origins that your friend David Wolf was in, which I was surprised that I didn't see you in that film actually. And also David Wolf and somebody else was talking in there, maybe not David Wolf, but somebody was talking in there about how sugar is it 8 times more addictive than cocaine anyway, right? Like sugar is the problem.
Totally. Yeah, and so much has been written on that. And we're all, but the thing that's sort of come out in the last decade is that essentially a carbohydrate is a sugar.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Yeah, you'll all feel really good. It's really fun when you don't eat the grains.
Yeah, and check that out and realize that actually, imagine our civilization when we start to just really fully integrate this next generations. Because I know we're coming to a close now, but there's something you said on one of your videos as well, is that didn't you show the statistics that if we carry on the way we're going, even in terms of when you was talking about the breastfeeding and the vaginal birth, and you were saying if we stop doing that and we're not actually having that, we're actually inhibiting the actual continuation of our species anyway. Wasn't there like some talk about that in terms of the way that what we're doing, we're wiping ourselves out if we don't start waking up to this simple facts anyway?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of wiping ourselves out, and for some reason you're reminding me of sort of that expression that people talk about too. It's like where you're kind of living like half alive, you know, or sort of like that's what's good for the drug companies, because then you can just be medicated. You know, so you're like alive, you're consuming, but you're not really thinking and awake. And you know, there's something to be said for being comfortably numb, but being alive and awake and happy is just, I think, more fun than comfortable.
Yeah, it's more fun. I love that. And I think that's a beautiful summary. I'm thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Nadine. I know we could have gone off in so many other ways. I mean, you know, another time maybe invite you back. I was wondering also maybe we could get Ron on the sofa at some point. I'd love to hear his view on a few things.
For sure.
He can tell us how he wooed you with his yogic chocolate moves?
You know what he's just done now? He's been really, he's quite a natural musician, and so I feel like the technology's finally caught up to what he hears in his brain. Because if he would just pick up a guitar, I feel like it wasn't enough for him. He wanted like everything. So he's been working on a lot of different songs, and so every time I would do a talk, he'd be like, "Oh, I want to turn that into a song." And so he just took my talk on sunshine and put it into like a rap song.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, please send me a copy, and I'd love to have a conversation with him. Maybe he can do a live rap for us as well, a spontaneous rap.
Oh, we'd love that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So yeah, just thank you. Thank you for your time today, and just want to also acknowledge and send you gratitude for just for the path you're walking. You know, the message that you're sharing and living, and I know you're also benefiting from that. So it's beautiful, but there's something, as you and I both know, when you're in that sense of feeling alive and awake and open, it's like a sense of that love that has to serve and has to give back. It's just a natural energy that flows through us. So acknowledging you for that work, and to everybody here live with us, I hope that this has been in some way mind-opening, if not maybe affirming some things you already knew. Maybe the first time you've ever heard of Nadine and you want to check her website out, you can look at her website. I've got a little thing here, but it might pop up there. It's livinglibations.com. That's Nadine Artemis. I'm calling that something different than what it is. And just trusting yourself. I mean, for me, transparent communication is all about coming back to yourself, coming back to who you really are. And like, I think one of the beautiful things that Nadine just said just a moment ago was acutely tuning up or turning up our discernment, really just coming back and really checking in with what's really resonating for us, and allowing our bodies to communicate and give us the feedback that we so often have become numb to. So Nadine, if there's anything you'd like to say to any of the viewers out there, then feel free. Other than that, I'd love to just say have a magnificent afternoon.
You too. Have a good evening.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Take care, everybody. Lots of love. You're alive. Yeah.